Wait, will you do banners though, please, Zach? The banners are the best part of this thing.
Yeah, I usually just don't. I forget to do them if I'm like talking. That's the problem.
Whoa,
So if you
okay.
don't make me talk, then I can do banners.
You guess what?
I guess we won't sit in silence like we always do, like assholes.
No, this is the real thing. We're professionals.
Yeah.
There are dozens of them watching us.
Do I have to send this to Andrew, or is he gonna?
I sent it to him.
Okay, is he gonna take the initiative to, you know?
He said he would. Let's see if he pops up in the chat sometime soon.
Let's see. I don't know. Let's just.
I told him we were shit talking him, so.
Shit talking. I'll shit talk. He can come on and I'll shit talk him. Whatever. That'll be fine. He's an adult. He just doesn't know how to fill out a Google form.
Meet me in the chat.
I think you're drinking something really fancy there.
We're gonna do. So I think we got enough movies.
Three. Are you going to talk about one, too?
I don't really have anything that I've watched recently that I have to talk about. I watched Army of the Dead the other day, but Aster and Logan really kind of got to it last week, so I don't have nothing to add.
They really tore into it.
They did. They didn't like it.
No. I mean, that they
dissected it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they really liked it. So
I kind of want to watch it, but every time I brought it up, Andrew's been like, "That looks stupid. I'm not watching that." And I'm like, "Well, we're together. So when am I going to watch it by myself?"
My thought was Tig Notaro was an action hero in it, so like Happy Pride.
I love that for her. She's cool. I like Tig.
Yeah, she was fun in it.
Maybe I'll watch it by myself. It's also supposed to be really long though. Like,
again, since we're talking Andrew, like fuck Andrew, just watch it with him if you want to.
Well, we're together all the time. Like, when am I gonna just be like?
Well, just tell him.
Watch a 3-hour movie.
Go the fuck away. That's me if I was married.
But then he plays the Dark Souls.
I know we do a lot of he plays a lot of Dark Souls. I sit and watch a lot of Jane the Virgin, so we do have a lot of alone time.
There you go. All right, we'll do Seth and then y'all for the order. Paige and Jess.
Cool.
Here we go. And
get ready to record.
Recording.
Okay, we're recording now.
You good?
Wait, no, don't stop recording. You have to wait till he says 3, 2, 1.
It's fine. It's fine.
He can read the waveform.
It's fine. And 3. Are you good, Seth?
Yes.
Okay. And 3, 2, 1. And welcome to episode 356 of Cinematary. I'm your host, Zach Dennis, and I am here with
Seth Troyer,
Paige Taylor,
Jesse Alva.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about movies that we saw this week in part 1. And in part 2, we will be continuing our feel-good queer movie series with 2017's Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. But first, head over to cinematary.com. We got a new review by Logan Kinney, who talked about this movie last week on the episode, but he has a in-depth review on Inside, the new movie/comedy special from Bo Burnham. So you can check that out there. We also have, I don't think I mentioned this last time, but we have a review by Reed Ramsey where he looks at a collection of Serpentine dance films from the early days of movies. So that was kind of an interesting one. So you can find those two, as well as Ali Chadwick on Girl Interrupted on cinematary.com. You'll also want to be checking out the site because we're going to be revealing the Young Critics Watch Old Movie series list pretty soon, as well as some guests, because we're already getting some guests confirmed for it. So I'm excited. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into movies that we saw this week. As the live stream says, Paige and Jess. Paige and Jess.
Seth was starting.
Paige and Jess. No, you guys are starting.
Seth was just starting with the intro. Gotcha.
Yeah, Seth's done his part. So. Okay,
cool. Well, to celebrate the series, we both watched. You watched the Gay and Wondrous Life of Caleb Gallo like a couple weeks ago, or did you just rewatch it pretty recently?
I rewatched it kind of. I was busy preparing for an art show, so I very half-assedly watched it with my sister while making keychains. So
we didn't watch it together, but we watched that, and we also watched Splendor just today before the podcast, so we'll talk about that later. But the Gay and Wondrous Life of Caleb Gallo is it's on YouTube. It's actually like a YouTube series.
Yes.
So it's a series of like 5 videos. Wow, Zach. That's very charitable. It's a series of like 5 videos, kind of on the borderline like amateur in terms of filmmaking, I guess you'd say. It's not like a full-blown movie so much as it is kind of like a really well-done YouTube series.
It's more like a bunch of friends that got together and were like, we're really funny, talented. We just made a TV show / movie, right? Yeah. And that's what happened, and they love it.
It's a pretty wild little series because I don't know, like it really is operating on kind of unique YouTube humor that I think we're kind of seeing emerge. It almost reminds me of like a really well-made BuzzFeed video or something like that. But I mean that in kind of a good way.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like this, it's operating on this very specific like internet-y kind of brand of humor. A lot of the time.
I'll say it's something that BuzzFeed saw and was like, "Ooh, there's content we can steal." Mm-hmm. That's what it's like.
Me and Andrew watched it last night together, and there's just like a lot of different things you can compare it to. The dialogue is almost, to me when I was watching it, it's this like really strange like cutting form of honesty where every character is just saying whatever the fuck is on their mind, almost to the extent that this doesn't seem like a real conversation that they're having between one another. It sounds like what they're actually thinking, and that's what they're saying.
Well, the director and the lead, Brian Jordan Alvarez, didn't so much write characters but made his friends play themselves.
Yeah.
So a lot of the dialogue that you see is them just spitting bullshit at each other that they would just say as themselves.
And it's hard to describe the plot of it. It's just him and like a lot of his little friends who are all like actors canonically in the series or whatever. Like that's their careers, and they're all just kind of like bumbling together, considering whether or not different scenarios of people, different groups of people might want to be in some kind of romantic relationship with one another. Yeah. And by romantic relationship, I mean they are all considering whether or not at different various groups of people might want to fuck one another. Like, I might want to fuck you, but I might want to fuck you, but I don't want to fuck you. It's just like this weird, like little strange, like weave of like, I don't know if this is polyamory or if this is just like people just being very honestly horny with one another. There is like a little polycule in the series.
It's a very horny, happy fever dream.
Yeah.
Just absolute nonsense. I love it. So, you know, if me and Jessy are involved and you want it to be family friendly, the answer is no. Sorry. Not even going to restrain myself ever.
Wait, this has never been a family. Get out of here, Zach.
Zach, stop shaming us.
Zach said,
okay?
This used to be a family-friendly show.
If you're a coward, just freaking close the app, okay? Get off of Spotify. You don't even deserve to listen to it.
My brother says, for all the babies listening, what's up, you cool babies? Like, I don't know what to tell you. This isn't not a family-friendly show. Close the app. It's hard to describe. I think the thing I liked best about it was the dialogue is just so minute by minute, very zappy and witty. There are moments that didn't work for me. Sometimes I think the characters were just doing a little too much, and they're all just being this like really like flamboyant and fun and energetic persona, and it works moments for me better than it does others. But it was, I still like loved it. I gave it 3 stars, but I think it's just incredible. Like it was just so fun to just sit there and be like, wow, this is all happening. Okay, all right.
If you're wondering, like what show we're talking about, you've seen that image of the character like on the wall, looking back, going like, so what is it? Sometimes things that are expensive are worse. That is Freckle, the gender fluid character. The iconic lines that they have a lot of lines like that, dialogue that are just all over the internet.
Yeah,
it's from that show. So it is definitely queer internet like iconic just media. And so I'm not saying it's good, but it's definitely like important.
I feel like, I mean, Andrew was talking about it last night. We were thinking of all these different things that it kind of felt like it was referencing, and now I'm drawing a blank. And Andrew, if you're listening, please chime in and remind me. One comparison he drew was like a little bit like Wes Anderson. Not so much the filmmaking aspect of it at all. It's very different in that respect, but more so like the weird way the characters like feel just like a little bit inhuman in a way.
You're right. Yeah.
because Wes Anderson characters all just seem like, what is going on here? And that's kind of how this is too, but with like chaotic gay energy.
Yeah.
Whereas Wes Anderson, I feel like he's like,
dude, can you imagine just like a Wes Anderson film where every character is queer? Like, you know what?
Wes Anderson
Wes
When's this
Anderson
happening?
characters do have like a lot of queer elements a lot of times. He's got like a bisexual character from the guy that plays Voldemort. I can't remember his name right now. In the hotel movie. I love not recalling information.
Ray Fiennes?
Grand
Gustav
Budapest.
H.
What?
It's Ray Fiennes, Gustav H.
Ray Fiennes, yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't think he's gay in that.
he's bisexual.
Okay.
It's bisexual.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
That's the movie we're talking about today. We're representing the bisexual community. I'm feeling excited about that. I'm feeling excited about this in a very bi way.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's a line, and yes, just many iconic lines like that.
And it's also only 79 minutes.
Yeah, 79 minutes.
It's
and
just
they
a quick good time.
squeeze so many golden lines in there.
Yeah, the dialogue is my favorite part of it. And just like the weird raw authenticity of the way the characters communicate with one another. And it's like kind of definitely playing with a lot of different queer identities, from like gender fluidity, polyamory, bisexuality, and homosexuality. And I don't know, Paige just, I think especially feels like this is just, if you're queer, you gotta watch this movie. It's like,
yeah, if I had a class on queer history, this would be a homework assignment.
it's so gooby,
Yeah.
but you gotta see it. You gotta watch it.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You had one other movie?
Well, the other movie was Splendor. It's one of my favorites. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. I've decided I give it 5 stars today. I think it's delightful. So Splendor is directed by Greg Araki. Every movie I've seen, I think I've just also decided that he rules. 5 stars.
Yes.
He is such a neat filmmaker. I think all the movies I've seen by him so far operate on this like really chaotic, silly, fun, usually pretty uplifting energy. With like some serious plot elements thrown in, but he's such a good like comedic director, I think. But Splendor is about a woman who ends up very quickly, like on the same night, falling in love with 2 different men and trying to kind of figure out, oh God, like my feelings for both of these guys are just so strong. And you know, I've never really done this before, but I kind of just want to see this thing out with both of them. And she does. She just lets them both know, I don't want to break things off with you. I don't want to break things off with him. And the guys roll with it. And they end up kind of forming a little polyamorous throuple and living together. And it is just, gosh, it's just pure bliss. Like they're just so, the boys are just like total
Pure
himbos.
splendor.
It's pure splendor. The boys are total himbos. They're like big, lovable doofs. And she is so beautiful. But I feel like as they're kind of navigating through these early stages of like, what is this? What are these feelings I'm having? How can we make this work? I felt like it was a really honest portrayal, despite kind of all the silliness of it. Them kind of saying, you know, this is unusual and this is unconventional. And I don't really know what this is going to look like, but I think I want to do this because I really feel so strongly for you. And they kind of, I think that they navigate all that in a really authentic way. And that's one thing I love about it. But I just think it fits so good. And if we had more weeks on this series, I probably would have recommended this as like polyamorous representation. So I knew I wanted to talk about it at least one of the episodes I was on, because I just think it's also such a nice portrayal of polyamory with a, spoiler alert, with a happy ending. Where it's not like they realize, oh, we're just confused and actually we're just going to go back to monogamy. But instead they're like, actually, we can make this work and this isn't unrealistic and maybe it's unconventional, but relationships and romance does not have to be conventional. What did you think about it, Paige and Seth?
I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It definitely kind of felt like a slumber party movie where you would just watch with a bunch of friends and just kind of squeeze a bunch of plushies and pillows together. It's just very cute, wholesome, innocent. Like, I know it's about, you know, there's a lot of sex in it, but it felt innocent.
Yeah,
you know,
because sex doesn't have to be this like awful, dirty, nasty thing. Like,
that's
sex
true.
Is a wonderful part of life.
It's absolutely true. And I really like, I think as far as the actual technicality of the filmmaking goes, it felt very Comic Sans, if that's the best way I can describe it. But that's okay because the feelings were so genuine that I forgive it. It's just that adorable. And also, like, I can't really think of a movie that portrays polyamory in a way that isn't sleazy or
There are movies, but there's few. It's hard to find them.
or
but yes.
or cringy. This was just cute and
was so
fun.
cute.
Very, very, very nice. So,
And I do think too. I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast. No, we did. What's it? Le Bonaire, when we did the series for Jane. No, what was her name? What is my girl's name? Agnes Varda. When we did our Agnes Varda series, oh my God, I have a whole box set and I forgot her dang name. We did the Agnes Varda and we talked about Le Bonaire, and that's also a movie kind of about polyamory and how that doesn't work without honest communication, and Splendor definitely shows that. But a really neat thing about Splendor is that I think that, and I don't know if this is for sure, I probably will never know unless Greg Araki shares this like nugget, but it does this like this colored crossfade exactly like Le Bonaire does, where it'll finish a scene and it just cuts to like a solid color and then
Color
it'll go to the next
transitions.
scene. And Le Bonaire does the
pastel
exact same thing.
transitions.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, and Le Bonaire is also about like polyamory. So I feel like he's got to be drawing that as a reference, but I don't know for sure. But I don't.
let's
can't be.
let's call him.
It can't be a
Put him on the
coincidence.
line.
Greg.
So Seth, you really
Come
like this
on.
too, and you really
Yeah.
like other Greg Araki movies. Can you talk a little about that?
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's probably true that he got that color fade from La Bonaire, which totally apt. I didn't even think about that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that movie Splendor feels like a sitcom or something.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of fun about it. It's like a poly sitcom, and it's like 1999. It's like all hell. That's what I always love about his stuff. They're just so like unapologetically like in the zeitgeist, which I feel like now is like the opposite. Like everybody's really trying to be like, they're really worried in the internet culture because we're used to like how like now we're gonna look back on the internet and laugh at everything that happened now and the way they dressed and stuff. But like Greg is just like, he just fully embraces like the most like ridiculous trend of the time with like fashion and color.
Paige kept like cringing over some of what's her name, Ron's shirts, where she'd have like a spaghetti strap on one side and then like a strap on the other side, and Paige was like, "What is this shirt?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's the '90s, man. It's a wild time." But like, I think for the most part, they don't have too cringy of looking looks. The movie is just really vibrant looking. I mean, all the little like set spaces are this like really plush and colorful environment. I think
Very
that's
bizarre
fun.
apartment.
Yeah.
Could not figure that out.
And Greg Araki is weird because everything I've seen by him has been really, really interesting and great, but it seems like his movies are kind of hard to access too. Some of them are a little more widely available than others, and I don't know why. Like I have this, I don't remember if we watched it on Amazon originally. I have it on VHS or DVD, and it doesn't exist on any other medium. And I'm like, Greg Araki, like restoration win. Like this guy is great, clearly.
I know. I don't know what the deal is. He seems very popular too.
Yeah.
The Criterion Channel put out a bunch of his movies on that streaming service, so I don't know if they've been put into actual Criterion, like physical Criterions yet. But I mean, the fact that they showed those on the Criterion Channel and had them up there for a couple months as like part of the rotation maybe signals that it'll be a place to find them.
Yeah. I may be whining for no reason. Then maybe his movies are pretty accessible, but sometimes they're a little harder to find.
Oh, Nowhere is on YouTube still. That's good news. That's like also like where it should be for like teenagers to watch like his stuff. They're just like for free.
I think he just really he's such a good comedic filmmaker. And comedy, honestly, a really well-made comedy is probably my favorite genre. And it's not, you can't always find them really, really well made. So I guess that's another reason why I like this series so much, is we've got a lot of comedies in it, but I think a good comedy is just comforting, but also has the ability to tackle some honest and good, thoughtful things in a more palatable way. Like But I'm a Cheerleader. You're right. Like conversion therapy sucks, is terrible and is unethical and is needs to go away, but we can still kind of laugh about it. And so Splendor, I think, it never shames like polyamory or this questioning, but just like really honestly investigates this with these characters and never tries to, it makes the characters look dumb for other reasons, but never for like slutty reasons or anything like that. Like it's just like these are just who they are, and they're in love, and you can see from their acting that they really are in love. And I just think it's such a precious movie. I love it so much. One of my favorites.
Nice. So how did you watch Splendor, or how did you watch this one again?
Yeah, I have it on I keep saying VHS. I have it on DVD, but I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon. You can rent it on Amazon.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Seth, you're gonna tell us about The Picnic.
Yeah.
I am going to tell you about Picnic from 1955. My friend gave me his password to the Criterion channel, and for some reason, this is like the first thing I watch. And it's like, it is not like a beloved film. It's weird that it's on there, but I think it's great in like a kind of ridiculous way. It's like it's about a picnic, and it's just like it's a picnic gone wrong. The star football player like has gone off to be a drunk and then comes back to his hometown to be like celebrated and whatnot.
This movie looks thirsty.
It's wild.
Is it pretty thirsty? Because the picture on Letterboxd is like this woman like gripping up on this hunky dude.
Yes, like all the ad campaign, all the trailers feel like they come from this like alternate reality where like males are being fetishized. Like it feels like an inverse of like how what's his name, the Outlaw, where like it was like a big deal that like they showed cleavage on the poster or whatever of a woman. But like this one, like every single poster you find is this scene where the guy gets his shirt torn.
Yes.
Like in a struggle, and it's just like it really lingers on his chest. And like
interesting. Very interesting.
So it's like totally objectifying him. I kind of
I'm interested in that for scientific reasons.
I know. Yeah, me too. But yeah, that seems pretty wild. Yeah, it's very like fake Arthur Miller, like wannabe Arthur Miller kind of stuff. Like very like everybody has a speech every time they open their mouth about something. It's kind of great. Very Technicolor looking.
So what is it actually about besides people going on a picnic and being thirsty?
Well, the star football player comes back to his hometown, and they're all like, "Oh, I can't believe you're back," and he's like, "Yeah," and then he gets drunk because he's a drunk, and he ruins the picnic and flirts with like young girls and breaks hearts and tries to get with the hot girl of the town like throughout this whole ordeal. And of course, like it's like this really cringy sort of like him like, I know we shouldn't do it, but we're gonna do it anyway. And then like of course like
do they?
Yeah, he like totally shames her into like getting on a train with him. But
it's Kim Novak.
Because it's 1955, it's like framed in this like, oh, she did what she wanted to do, which was what he wanted to do, kind of thing.
Man, I would love just a list of all movies that end with people like dramatically hopping on trains at the end to be with one another, because there are dozens at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wild. That'd be a good list.
Yeah, I can think of at least two.
Yeah. Picnic. I also love this. It's called Picnic. It's really ominous.
Yeah, I keep thinking you're gonna say like somewhere, like at Hanging Rock, or I don't know.
It's interesting.
No.
I was looking at the cast.
The sequel.
The cast is kind of interesting because you have like William Holden and Kim Novak and Rosalind Russell. Like those are like known people. Are they all pretty good in it?
Yeah, but again, it's like this stagey dialogue that is like, it is fun for that reason. I love like melodrama. It reminds me of like if you're into like Douglas Sirk movies and stuff, where it's just like the point is that they're being over the top and saying this well executed speech that no one would be able to get out with saying a bunch of times.
Okay, sounds good.
That's kind of the fun.
So you liked it a lot?
I did, but it's silly for sure.
Well, I like a good silly.
Sometimes it just needs to be silly, whatever.
Yeah.
I love a good silly.
All right. Well, I got nothing to talk about, so I think we just might roll
Zach,
it
what did you
into.
do this week?
Hey, did you
Like,
watch
how
the
are
Totina's?
you?
What's that?
YouTube vid? Did you watch the Totina's short like I asked you to?
Yeah, it was fun.
That's all you have to
Say
say.
more about that, Zach.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was an SNL short, and Kristen Stewart was in it, and
Wow. You
they had
sound
Totino's.
so homophobic right now. I can't even believe it.
How was your week? You know.
It's been fine. I was out of town for the weekend, so I didn't watch anything. So that's what happens.
Okay.
No excuse.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched Army of the Dead, but we covered that pretty extensively last week. It's a fun one. Tig Notaro is an action hero. In every scene, she's like wisecracking and smokes a cigar, and that's happy pride for her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. If there's something I could talk about. I watched. I just don't know. There's stuff I watched it and I enjoyed it, but I have nothing to extensively talk about.
Fair.
I could talk a little bit about this one. I'll put this one on the radar just so that people. This was on Criterion Channel. It's one that we should talk about for young critics at some point. It's called The Cloud Capped Star. It's by Ritwik Ghatak, who he's in the same Bengali in Indian cinema realm as Satyajit Ray and those folks, but he's not as internationally known as Ray is. And it's about this middle class refugee family in eastern Pakistan, and it really focuses on the daughter and how she kind of has to sacrifice her life for her family, who her family fucking sucks. She has her brother is like, I'm gonna be a singer, and literally spends all day by the river singing. But she really likes her brother, and even though he brings nothing to the table, he just goes by the river and sings, and then barters and takes money from her. She has another brother who's younger, who because he's younger, they don't want to get him in the workforce necessarily, and so he's going to school and is playing soccer, if I remember correctly, something like that. She has a father who teaches drama and other things in the town, but doesn't make a lot of money. And then she has her mother who just berates everybody in the family and just kind of is is very much like a housewife. And so initially she's going to school. She's going to be I want to say an engineer or something like that. She's going to go to school and get a good job. But then her father has an accident and is unable to work anymore. And so she kind of has to start picking up the slack because she has her brother who's singing by the river and not doing anything. And so
I just love that.
That's literally the whole movie. Is he's just I'm singing by the river now. And so for the rest of the movie, it's just kind of her. You're just watching as her all of the stuff that she wanted to do is kind of eroded away. She wanted to go to school and follow through and do all of these things that would bring honestly more money to her family because she would have got a good job. She wanted to get married to this guy. Oh, I forgot about that whole thing. So that she has a sister who's a little bit younger than she is. She would probably be 16 or 17. And Nita, the main character, is seeing this boy, but he's kind of also a little bit of a daydreamy person. She has bad taste in men. I'll just say that she gets a lot of daydreams, really not bringing home the bacon in any regard. But then her sister completely steals this dude and marries him. It's pretty shitty. It's kind of shitty. It's crazy. Yeah. So as the movie goes along, you have her mom and her dad are still there, but her dad's unable to do anything. Her mom's just kind of berating everybody still. Her younger brother joins the workforce because he can play soccer at this. He can work and play soccer for the factory's team or whatever, but then he gets in an accident, so he's unable to work for a long time. The sister goes off and marries Nita's boyfriend. and so
She's marrying everybody in this movie.
she marries her boyfriend, and then they like go off together. So then like they don't even talk to Nita because they're just like, well, I stole your boyfriend, sorry. And then the older brother does, like, he finally leaves because he's like, nobody likes me here except for Nita, which is true because he's just singing by the river. And he becomes like a big star and comes back, and Nita is now like sick because she's just like worked herself to death because she's been just trying to provide for the family. And it's a sad movie. And it's Cloud Cap Star.
Man, this is a wild ride. What's it called again?
Cloud Cap Star.
Cloud Cap.
It's
Singing by the river.
Yeah, it's good. It's good though. It's if you've watched stuff by like Satyajit Ray and folks like that, it's very much in a similar ilk. The main performance, she's the woman who plays Nita is really captivating. He has a lot of these like shots where she's kind of like the way she looks at other characters is really like, she just kind of has like this like really strong presence where she kind of looks at the characters and looks at people, and you can really kind of feel how she how she feels about this person just kind of by the way that she looks at them. And you kind of just have to live with the frustration where she's investing all of this time and energy into her brother, who again, he becomes successful later on, but for the most part, it's just kind of like this, Seth will attest to Singing by the River, as well as this boyfriend who he is, he's just kind of off in his own head. He wants to go and I forgot if he's like a playwright or something. He wants to do something, and he's just like, Nita, I can't marry you right now. I'm like, writing this fucking play, and you're just like,
They're all such bad excuses.
The family is shitty, and it's one of those things where like everybody sucks, and then she suffers at the end, and you're just like, God damn, fuck you guys. That's what this movie is. This movie is fuck you guys. The movie. It's not a great family movie. It doesn't make you love families. It's kind of like, why do we have those?
Families are messy, man.
Yeah.
Especially when your sister marries your boyfriend or whatever.
It's pretty rough because she's like, at one point, Nita's like, yeah, I got to go to school and like do stuff. And she's like, oh, what's your boyfriend doing? She's like, oh, he's just sitting here. And she's like, all right. All right. Yeah. And he's just like, oh, well, I'm a dumbass and I'm going to go follow her. So then they get married. But yeah, Cloud Cap Star, it's on Criterion Channel. Check it out if you want to get into some Pakistani cinema.
It's a very cool title.
It is a good title.
Cloud Clap.
Capped.
I swear I've heard a different title every time you said it.
Well, you say it, and then I'm immediately like, oh, what?
The Cloud.
You never put it on the thing, so I couldn't.
Well, I didn't type it in.
Cloud Slam 3000. Oh, okay.
Cloud Man Flap.
Cloud Man Flap.
Andrew wants to see it. He gets it.
Okay, well, next time.
Right.
Maybe someday.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back talking about Professor Marston and all them Wonder Women after this.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
That's not the title.
Cloud Cap.
Professor.
I only got it wrong every time you said it. So
I mean, I
just immediately erased it from my mind every time.
This puppy.
Oh, puppy.
So cute.
Excited.
I'll be right back.
I was like, that
Okay.
Wait, Seth. What is your shirt? Is it Krusty SpongeBob? I can't tell.
Krusty
it's
SpongeBob.
It's
Okay.
Dinosaur Jr.
Oh, okay. I saw
What the hell's
just
Krusty SpongeBob.
I saw just the top of it, and it looked almost
Yeah, you
like a
did,
weird
Andrew.
yellowish, and I thought maybe it was a Krusty SpongeBob.
What is Krusty
Oh.
SpongeBob?
I do want a shirt like that. You mean
You
when
know
he
what I'm
he needs water?
Yeah.
This episode of Cinematary is brought to you by Budweiser. Budweiser, king of beers. Sponsor us.
Whoa.
That's how we get sponsorships on the show.
Yeah, it's worked dozens of times. Hey, Krusty, you don't know what I'm talking about? Krusty SpongeBob? We're dry. Dry sponge.
Oh, the water episode.
Yeah. He needs it.
I don't need it.
Wow.
I don't need it.
need it.
I definitely don't need
I
it.
need it.
Export, you fucking waveform. Damn you.
You fucking wanker.
You wanker. Export.
Andrew
Are you in
missed,
Peaky Blinders? Like, you fucking waveform. Get the fuck out of my computer.
Andrew missed us
Anyway.
being British in the early bit of this episode. I think we weren't recording when we were British, so
That's for the best.
it's definitely for the best.
You know.
I just gotta caress my mic like.
I didn't do any of my funny faces or anything where I was like, "Brr."
Yeah, like last time.
The crowd loves it. That's why they keep going.
It's a big hit. It's a big hit.
How many do you have an idea of like how many views you usually get on these on YouTube?
One.
Ron on Friday night with his wine.
One.
Damn, we're live. You're just dragging them.
I didn't drag him. I just said I know he watches them because he's a
You
loyal
dragged Ron.
fan. I did not drag Ron. I'm a bigger fan of Ron than most.
We have Ron View.
Stupid.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Ah!
We get around like 40, 50 views on the YouTube. So,
That's good. That's
but
good.
we've only been doing them for a little while. So
It's catching on. The word's getting out.
Yeah,
Hey, if you're
trying-
watching this now, tell your friend to watch it.
Tell your friend.
friends.
Tell your one friend.
Tell your one friend to tell their one
Hey,
friend.
you ever? Hey, I tell you, I heard of this podcast called Cinematary.
Say it just like that.
If you like a good flick, you might want to give it a listen.
Give it a lick. I mean,
Give
listen.
it a lick.
What?
What?
It's sponsored by Budweiser
Sponsored by Budweiser.
and SpongeBob.
And SpongeBob.
Sorry,
Oh, that'd
pal.
be cool. I'll get sponsored by SpongeBob.
Say, what do you say, pal?
We have Ron viewer. I don't get
Like
it.
one?
Like one, but Ron.
Yeah.
That's not.
One viewer.
That's not good.
It's
Ron
not. But,
Viewer.
you know, we have
You
good
made a
times.
bad joke, BT.
Yep.
All right. You want to talk about these Wonder Women?
Yeah.
I do.
I certainly do.
I don't know what I'm gonna say besides the whole time we were watching the movie together. I just kept saying, "Wow, she's so hot."
I think Andrew
Which
was
one?
like, shh. I think Andrew was telling you to hush. He's like, Jesse, stop.
Just stop.
Just
You're being way too
stop.
thirsty and
Stop
rude
calling her
friends.
hot. This is the professional setting.
You're being way too thirsty.
Wife, you're being really cringe and thirsty right now.
Who are you thirsty for? Which Wonder Woman?
All.
What's the girl's name?
I like all.
What's the girl's name?
Which
All.
one?
The blonde.
All of them, or one of them is not named All.
My favorite one was all. I mean, to be
All? You
honestly,
just
all
like
of them
all?
could get it.
Yeah,
Oh,
all of
yeah.
them are hot. I
All
like,
three.
No, all three could really get it.
Yeah.
But specifically
Olive?
Olive. Oh,
I don't know. I want to be domed. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh, we're live. I'm sorry. Shit. I keep forgetting we're live. Whenever you say stop
This
the
is a
recording, you're
family
making me-
program.
we're
I
only
want.
live- we're
I
only
want. I
live
want
for
to
the
call Domino's.
YouTubers.
Is what I meant to say. Let's call Domino's. Let's call pizza.
We're only live for the YouTubers. We're not. We're
We're
not
just
live
live
for.
for
them.
we're just live for Andrew. You can say whatever the hell you want.
I
Well,
think I'm more.
This is great content. We get like a nice little refrigerator shot.
it's part of it.
No, it's
I
not.
like.
I'm
I like-
definitely into the professor's wife. That's definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
Back on.
I love it. She's such a
That's
bitch.
what Andrew said,
I love
too.
her.
Yeah, I mean, they can all get it, but
Yeah. I'm not choosing.
would they, if they invited me to join their throuple, would I say yes? Yes, I would say yes. But
A quadruple.
yeah, hard yes. But I'm just saying Olive. It's fine. We
I'll
can
make
start
it.
actually
Well.
talking about the film now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just really
If
embarrassed.
you really want to.
You
Yeah.
said you want to be dumb.
Stop.
It's no shame. People on the side.
Just specifically by her, okay?
That's fine.
God,
That's good.
she's cool.
Own up to it.
Whatever.
Don't back off, you cow.
I'm not.
Don't we all? I mean,
Absolutely.
don't we all just
Despise you.
we're all just trying to fill a hole, you know?
I'm sorry, Seth. It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you. No apology needed.
I said that to my father-in-law. I'm not going to give the context, but at one point when we were hanging out with him, I said, you know, we're all just trying to fill a hole. And
Did
he
he
just
giggle?
looked at me like, oh, wow, that was a line. That was a line you just crossed.
So much in the love.
You should have been like, who's the bitch got a hump to get some sleep around here?
I'll never forget that line. Honestly, that was like peak Zach moment right there. We were all visiting a friend in St. Louis, and Zach chose, I'm going to say, to sleep on the floor under a table with a blanket that had a big hole in it. He had this like super scraggly beard, and I think he was like sleeping on this mattress that had completely deflated, so he was like completely on the floor. And at one point he just kind of looked up and assessed the situation. He's like, who's a bitch got a hump to get a decent place to sleep around here? And it was like 1 a.m. or something when he said that. And when I get too late at night, I get to this like slap happy level of like awakened drunkenness where I could not, for like 5 minutes, could not stop laughing. I just couldn't
It's
stop.
a beautiful place. Oh man, under the table too. Like,
In case it rained, I don't know.
yeah. Didn't that's like Nicolas Cage in The Vampire's Kiss. He's like he like sleeps. That's his coffin or whatever.
Good.
Really?
I need to
You ever see that?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's been a while.
Vampire's Kiss rules. Oh my god, it's crazy.
All right, well, let's talk about Wonder Woman.
All right, let's get back. Are you gonna count us in?
So, do you guys have a sheet, or am I going?
You're going.
I know. That's why I got a sheet.
I know. I thought about it, and then I was like, well, we haven't discussed it, and I'm just gonna let Zach do it because
What's a sheet?
He's the pro.
Let's go. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. And we're back with part 2 of episode 356 of Cinematary. In this part, we will be continuing our feel-good queer movie series with 2017's Professor Marston and the Wonder Women. Written and directed by Angela Robinson. The film stars Rebecca Hall, Luke Evans, Bella Heathcote, whatever. Heathcote, whatever. The blonde one. Connie Britton and Oliver Platt. And the film is the story of psychologist William Moulton Marston and the polyamorous relationship with his wife and their mistress, who would inspire his creation of the superheroine Wonder Woman. Angela Robinson on interpreting Olive and Elizabeth's relationship in an interview with Vulture in 2017, quote, "This is one of those things that's kind of tricky about history, especially history that has been obscured because of the relationships and because of society and many things. But there's certain facts that are indisputable about the Marstons' lives, which everybody agrees on. And there are certain ones that are open to interpretation. You know what I mean? It's how you choose to interpret those facts. So that's how I chose to interpret them. That I don't know how else to say except that it's open to interpretation." Mm-hmm. She continued when asked about being nervous about portraying the relationship since they were real people. Quote, "I felt like I kind of went on my own journey, discovering, trying to do detective work. What I came to was that the Marstons were these wonderful people with a lot of love in their life. I was especially struck by the fact that Elizabeth and Olive lived together for 38 years after Marston died. So to me, I wanted to tell a story about that love and what I thought was happening." On depicting the polyamorous relationship, Robinson told Vulture, quote, "I'm really happy that it's being embraced by the poly community and that some people are telling me it's the only positive depiction they've seen. I didn't realize that when we were making it. We all have this contemporary language to describe what the Marstons were doing, like poly and kink and BDSM, but they didn't have that language then. Lesbian was barely an identity at the time. The word had just been created in that usage. So to me, they were just doing what they were doing. They didn't have any of this. It was just that they fell in love and they had to figure out how to be together, quite literally, in the world." Mm-hmm. On depicting the characters, Robinson told The Verge, what was most important about Marston was I became very obsessed with his ideas and disc theory, which I feel like was his main jam. I really honed in on that. Every scene in the movie kind of revolves around dominance, inducement, submission, compliance, and the question of, quote, is he a feminist or or like an exploitative pervert. I thought, I just don't know about this guy. So in order to figure him out, I felt I had to figure out Elizabeth. With her, I became fascinated by the fact that all the reports say she was so smart, she had 3 degrees, but she ended up for much of her life supporting the family and working as a secretary, which is how Diana Prince, or Wonder Woman's secret identity, became a secret secretary as well. That's how Elizabeth was reflected in Wonder Woman. A lot of the movie is about men and women and masculinity and femininity and entitlement, and how Marston was able to go on and be the one who was known, whereas Olive and Elizabeth were kind of hidden by history. I thought that was very much a reflection of their times. You feel a lot of that frustration in Elizabeth and how she's most engaged in and aware of the social and political reality. Rebecca Hall on the script and doing the movie in an interview with the Mary Sue, quote, "When I read her script, I was really astounded by her interpretation of the Marstons, because I have spent time thinking about it, thinking how is it even possible to weave all of the broad and sprawling elements of these extraordinary people's lives into a film? And also, how do you make the film that we need now? How do we make the film that is going to be the most positive now? It would have been very easy to make the film that is, salacious, or for want of a better phrase, male gazy. And I think there are many, many ways for us to incorporate the facts that we have about the Marstons. There are some facts that we know, and there are some facts that we don't, which is the case for any group of people who've led hidden secret lives. When I read Angela's script, I thought that this is it. This is the interpretation that is pure and hopeful and sex positive and correct for now. In 2017, Variety said, "This is arguably the phoniest film you'll see all year, marred by clumsy direction, over-obvious acting, and a wooden script that skews what was so radical about the Thruples arrangement into something tame and downright boring." The New Yorker in 2017 said the writer and director Angela Robinson illuminates an extraordinary corner of pop culture history with a bland and textureless drama. And the LA Times in 2017 said, "You may long for a more disruptible, less buttoned-up telling, but there is something about this one sleek, streamlined conventionality that feels both appropriate and pleasing."
A good one there.
There you go. So on that note, let's talk a little bit about Professor Marston and the Wonder Women. Paige and Jessy, I'm going to kick it off with y'all.
Sure. I watched this in theaters when it came out, and on initial viewing, I absolutely loved it. And I was extremely drawn to both the female characters. I thought that both of them were wonderful and intricate and sexy. And on this viewing, I fell in love with the male character too, William. I thought that and this time I tried to pay better attention. I think I was just so struck by how hot it was the first time that I watched it that was all I could think about. So on this second viewing, I was like, all right, let's think of it in movie terms this time.
Turn the horny brain off and the academic brain on.
I mean, it was still on, but also I had cinema brain on too.
I feel like they had a horny academic brain though, so it works.
Yes. So activated both of those parts of my brain. And I think the most impressive part about this for me is like there are a lot of intricate parts about their story, but the pacing and the weaving together of those parts in the first 2/3 of the movie, like, so masterful. Mm-hmm. I think the first 2/3 of the movie is like a 5-star film, and then the last third kind of falls apart for me a little bit, and then it gets better towards the very, very end. Mm-hmm. It gets kind of muddled.
It kind of seems like they get to a point where they're like, we should probably wrap this up. We're getting like a whatever 1 hour and a half runtime. That's probably plenty, but it could have been better. If they'd really drawn out, especially like the unraveling of the Wonder Woman series and stuff. They kind of give us like a little screen cap at the end, like this is what happened to Wonder Woman, later on and stuff, and how they kind of like completely unkinked it and took away her superpowers and this and that. But they could have played some of that out in the movie, and it definitely played out more of their like home life. We were making jokes when we were watching it, like how they just don't show the kids at all. It's like the movie hates kids, I think, because they'll just be like, here's a kid running around, they're on an airplane. Okay, anyway, back to these hotties.
When Rebecca is pregnant,
respect.
She's like, I think I'll name her Olive, and then like you never see Olive's face.
Never that kid.
Anyway, fuck that kid.
Like,
back to
we have a daughter now. Anyway,
but I'm hot.
Anyway, let's tie each other up. But yeah, I think that all three of the characters are so well done, and they're not boring characters. They're very intricate, very smart, all interesting, solid, put together characters. And I think that this material is difficult to handle. I wouldn't know how to wrap my head around.
Why do you say that?
I don't know, like just the BDSM. I wouldn't know as a director myself. I would not know how to handle like making a movie involving that subject matter, especially around scientists.
Yeah.
But they like, don't you guys feel like it all fits together so naturally?
Yeah. Well, and I think that like what they kind of realize is that like this has just kind of always been kind of the dynamic at play within the way that they have sex play with one another.
Yeah.
And they were never really trying to do a thing. This is just sort of like the roles that they take on when they're with one another. I think it's hilarious that he spends like half of his life as a social scientist trying to crack the code. And then he ends up realizing all along like, oh wait, there's totally already a thing, and it's just called kink.
Now it is
Whoops.
definitely funny. It's definitely funny when he's like slapping the chalkboard with like
submission, dominance,
and then like dumping.
And we're all sitting here like
dumping like half naked women on the bed, like it's science, and like babe, it's porn. And
no, I love that when he gets all the like little pornography, and the fact that like it's so weird to me that he gets all this out and he's like, guys, check this out, like for science. And the specifically Elizabeth, his wife, looks at it and she's like disgusted by it, like, dude, y'all three bang all the time. Like, why is this bothering you at all? Like, why are you looking at this and like being disgusted? I don't know. I guess I just don't really understand like porn shaming so much, but I love that there's like this initial reaction of like, oh goodness, other people have sex. Yuck, that's just us in our relationship. And it's such a funny reaction.
I kind of read that as her being like, why are you acting like this is some sort of profound discovery that you have here?
What were you going to say, Seth?
Oh,
Seth froze. Oh no, Seth froze. He's just going.
He just wanted to talk, and you guys didn't let him. And now he's frozen.
He's like, oh, you guys keep interrupting me. I'm out.
Let's talk a little bit until Seth comes back. I'm gonna take him out of here for a second.
Seth.
Yeah, until I see him moving again. Let's talk a little bit about the the relationship at the center of the movie. I was in the notes when I was doing the notes. I was kind of looking at like what the director. I mainly wanted to like talk. Mm-hmm. Find stuff from the director talking about how she was approaching this. Mm-hmm. And so for y'all kind of watching how she kind of handled like the poly relationship in this. I mean, mm-hmm. I feel like it could go so many different ways. You mm-hmm. can kind of make it where it's like, oh, isn't it, like Rebecca Hall said, like you could make it salacious and be like, ooh, isn't this hot? Like you have all these hotties. Doing stuff, and they have that, but I feel like it's also a pretty communicative movie as well. So yes. I mean, so for y'all, just kind of watching that, what did you respond to with the relationship and how they handled the poly element of it? I
mean, I think with polyamory, it absolutely necessitates like really, really good, honest communication, and that's really challenging for anybody. And so as they're like kind of recognizing these feelings that they have, the Marstons, like the couple, are kind of talking through it like, this doesn't even make any sense. Like, this is not a thing that's even on our, like, us living now in this 21st century, like, we're at least aware of polyamory. We're starting to see more representation of it. But in that day and age, what was it, like 1940s? Or was it 1920s? Because a lot of time passes in the movie. They had no concept of that at all. So they're like, maybe we're having these feelings, but what the hell are we supposed to do about this? And there's even a line in there like, can you be in love with more than one person at a time? And the answer is yes, but it's barely talked about now. It was certainly not a thing that was anywhere on their radar then. And so there's a lot of like them just having conversations with one another of like, yeah, we're feeling all this, but what does this mean? And then I think too, for the two women in the movie who are recognizing that they're attracted to one another, you know, like there's a line in the movie that says lesbianism is a mental illness. It's not, but it was certainly looked at the time. So then I think, especially for bisexual people, you kind of get to a point in your life where you're like, wait a minute. Okay, so I know I like this gender, but I think I also like this gender. Am I gay? But no, you're not. You're bisexual. Like, but I think there's this kind of like weird moment. Maybe, I don't know. If I can't speak for all bisexual people, only myself, where you're like, I don't understand this. What am I supposed to do with this? And I think the women think this too. Of like, wait, I'm definitely attracted to her, and I'm definitely attracted to him, and can I be attracted to two people? Like, this is just completely bites right against like monogamy and right against the culturally like the cultural norm. And people don't like when you push against the cultural norm. They get really, really skeezed out. And especially in the 1940s, it's difficult. I think that they do such a good job in the movie, kind of just like really authentically hashing that out with one another. Like, can we do this? Do we want to do this? I really, really love the line in the movie. I think it's when I don't know if it's when they're taking the polygraph test or what, but somebody says something like, I think you don't want to live a conventional life. I think that that's just a good line for queer people in general, and definitely for the polyam community. It's a choice to live unconventionally, but that doesn't mean that those relationships have to be kinky, but they can be, and that's great. And that's great if that's not that way too. It's just love, and they can share it in as wide as a scope or as small of a scope as they want to. And I think that it's just portrayed so beautifully and genuinely in this movie.
And so one of the quotes that Angela Robinson said this was that people who saw it, you know, said this was a really positive depiction of polyamorous relationships. For y'all, like, what do you think is the not necessarily the problem, but like, why do you think it's difficult for that type of relationship to be shown in movies? Because I think that like movies that specifically like deal with that in a way that's not looking at it like in a salacious way are probably short and, you know, far between.
I mean, I think that it's challenging enough to get really good just gay or lesbian or bi content out there in the world, and then you're adding like another layer of you know, I think that in mainstream culture in general, we're becoming more and more accepting of like gays and lesbians and bisexuals, pansexuals, and people are starting to become more and more familiar with the terminology, and they're starting to accept like a monogamous same-sex couple. But then when you cut against the grain of like non-monogamy, that's like pushing another button for people. Like, well, what this is a slippery slope that conservatives talk about, right? Like, if you let two people get married, then more people are going to get married. But really, the convention of marriage is, you know, what do you really want out of this? You want like tax breaks, you know, you want commitment from somebody. So why should there be an issue? Why should there be an issue if more than two people want that too? So it's hard. It's just something that I think is starting to become more and more out there. But then I think we live in kind of a sex shaming culture anyway. We don't want to talk about sex. We don't want to look at sex unless, you know, and then when we do talk about it, it's like this really uncomfortable thing when it's just a part of life. It's a lovely part of life. And it doesn't have to be a weird conversation.
Yeah. I
but
thought it was really interesting. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I lost it. It's okay. Go for it, Seth.
Well, I thought I was just really struck with how like this is decades ago, and this is still something that is like unresolved, like still something that we don't see very often in our culture. Just
exactly.
like this particular like situation where like more than one partner, like it's still very much like even in like very like radical groups still like quite often fetishized as like, oh, it's a threesome, it's like a it's like a fling sort of thing, you're like having a little experiment, but they're like, it's still not very recognized that like many folks like this is how they function sexually, And beyond, well, that's the problem. So seeing it as constantly as like a sexual thing, which it is like you can see it like by the end, and that's what's such a wild like thing that this filmmaker is able to do. This is to communicate like that this is more than like a sexy kinky thing. It is like they are in love, and it is like very much about like a human connection that is going on. That doesn't have like everything to do with sex.
Right. Well, Zach, so like to answer your question that you had said, like, why do you think that we're still struggling to kind of see positive portrayals of polyamory in media? I think it does have a lot to do with like our cultural mindset of like sex being so private, and movies that deal with polyamory, like they're going to be looked at as these like ultimate horny, sexy movies, even though it doesn't, like with Professor Marston, that's part of it. But it's not all of it. There's genuine emotion and connection there too. But I think that a lot of people still see it as like, there's no way this could actually work out in the long term. And so they give them kind of crappy endings, or they end up choosing the one person when you see like a love triangle kind of movie. Man,
fuck love triangles.
Why
not both?
Why not all?
Why not all?
Why do you need to do this? I've been on a journey to find good, happy, good ending polyamorous movies, and they're out there. There are dozens, or there are handfuls of them. Splendor is perfect. I love it. It's polycanon, and I think Professor Marston is too. But it's also just a great bisexual movie, and that's why we picked it for the series too. But I think that bisexuality and polyamory are both very firm, clear identities. So I like that this kind of hits on both of those notes.
Yeah, Paige, did you have anything to add?
No. I just was really fond. Oh, she's pointing at my notes. I took 2 notes, and
number 2.
I literally only took 2 notes. One says was a quote by Elizabeth, which was, "Who am I to fight nature? I'm your wife, not your jailer." In regards to the husband acknowledging that he finds Ollie attractive, and then I wrote "suffering Sappho." And I don't remember the context.
Well, the first line, she's saying, he said, "Wow, okay, I've got to be honest, I'm really attracted to this gal." And then the wife is like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, go fuck her if you want to." And then later she's like, "You absolutely better not fuck my husband." So she goes back on it. She's like, "I changed my mind." But I like that. I guess that is kind of just addressing that people have attractions to other people. And I think with monogamy, there's this expectation that suddenly your eyes are blinded to everybody else that exists in the world, except for your one beautiful partner forever and ever and ever. And that's just not true at all. People have desires for other people. People watch porn because they have desires for other people. People like have those feelings. And I think that with polyamory and with this relationship, they kind of are able to bring those out and talk about that and acknowledge that, he says in the movie, you two combined are like the perfect woman. Like, you are this brilliant. I love your mind. I love the way you think and see the world. And then she's hot. And also she's really smart too.
Highly recommend having a bi and or non-jealous partner who can check out a person with you.
Andrew loves that I'm bisexual, because like I don't remember what I said, "Oh my god, Andrew, you got to see this picture." And I pulled up this picture of the actress, the girl who's in what's that movie? The sad Adam Sandler movie.
Punch Drunk Love.
No. The one that came out recently where he like gambles
Uncut
and stuff.
Gems.
Yes, but I can't. Julia Fox. I showed him this picture of Julia Fox, and then we just got on this train of just like looking at pictures of Julia Fox, and he just looked at me and he's like, "Being married to a bi woman is awesome."
No.
Sorry, that's not all it's about. I promise, but it's part of it.
By experience, by Jessy. Seth, you got cut off before you were gonna talk a little bit, so I'm curious what your response to the movie was.
I just thought I think it was said before that it must be it's such a tall order of a movie that like I think it's like she's a young filmmaker too, Angela, and there's so much that has to be juggled here just in like even like just in the like giving the facts of a historical event and getting the period right and the fact that it's like still like a rather relatively untread territory as far as like storytelling in movies, like in a serious way, and actually making it like that balance that she strikes with the eroticism, like somehow still making it so that like, because it is just like a fascinating story on its own, even without the like sexiness, like the explicit sexiness. So yeah, I was just like so impressed, and I thought it was like a really interesting, like even there's like that moment where they bring the porn photos, and it is really humorous, I think, on this like funny level for an audience member, because I think I could even see myself or like other people, because that is like the common response when you're like not in a sexual situation. Be like, what's going on with it? Like, I don't know. Like,
what are you doing here?
The classic thing is always that like sex should be this unifier. Like we all like are thinking about it a lot, and like it's a big part of our life. And the cliche anymore is the fact that no one talks about it, and we keep it very behind closed doors, and we wouldn't dare like indulge such like conversation.
I mean, just about everybody is going to have sex somewhere in their life, and everybody also eats food. Can you imagine if we were like, you eat food? Oh, well, don't talk about that. Oh, don't share recipes about how to, don't tell people, like, you can boil water. We just don't want to know about it. Do it in your own house. Like, but they're both part of life, and they're both a part of like the joy of living, and it's just really silly.
It's still such a thing that people are like still very like instinctively conservative, like not actually like even in that. I think like one of the best like scenes in the movie was they follow Olive to her sorority, where they're having this like initiation thing where they're all like dressed up as babies, and it is like this like walking into like a kinky situation that you're not involved in. You do like you would laugh because you're not like, and they are like they're watching from the rafters as they paddle, like she paddles this girl who is naughty, and they like laugh like the audience probably does at first, and then they find themselves getting like turned on, and the laughter goes out the window.
There's like, wait a minute, why is this doing something for you? I don't know. I thought it was scientific, but now I feel like this is a little bit more than science.
Yeah, it's totally how it works, I feel like.
I was talking to Andrew about, I guess, just like queer relationships, and I think like the thing that makes people like in the mainstream like heteronormative culture that we live in uncomfortable is that when you just see like a straight couple, like a man and a woman together, you're not like, especially if they're married, you're not thinking about the fact that they're having sex. It's a given. They have children. Like, people talk about trying to have a baby, and trying to have a baby just means we're having a lot of sex, right? But like, it's unspoken, just understanding that you don't talk about. But when you bring in like queer relationships or polyamorous relationships, then it gets people starting to get the gears running, and they're not thinking about it anymore. And I think that that's something that makes people uncomfortable, is like with hetero couples, you're not thinking about it. They're just like, that's part of it, and you're married and it's fine. But with like queer relationships, people just have to start thinking about it, and then they have to, and then they feel uncomfortable with it because it's like, you guys made me think of sex, but no, that's on you. And then especially with like polyamory, that's.
I feel bad for people who don't want to talk about it. This is one of the most deeply central films I've ever seen. They do it so well. That scene when they first like all start getting physical for the first time, and they're led into the theater. Oh, it's so beautifully well done. It's so well done. It looks like they're having so much fun. It is so hot. That's just so well shot. Just so intimate. Like I remember being in the theater, like I'm gonna melt, I'm gonna pass out. It's just it's so good. And then whenever she is in that like the costume that inspired Wonder Woman, and she's got the ropes on her, and they're all just like admiring her, and all the other people in the class just stop talking and admire her too. And that's the like, the shot, the poster, like that scene is so intimate and beautiful too. Just so sensual. I'm very surprised that it's not more mainstream, because I see those scenes and I'm like, y'all need to see this.
It's so beautifully made. I think the movie has such a good balance of like sensuality that's just like really genuine, and just shows like this is a part of relationships, and it's a beautiful, special part of relationships, but also balancing like just the human emotional connection. I think that all three of the actors just do such a good job,
Exactly.
really showing with
It's
their faces,
sens-
showing with their bodies, like, wow, I'm really, really feeling
It's
strongly
sensual,
for you.
but not at all empty.
No, it's just a beautiful. I think it's such a beautifully
Yeah.
well-made movie. And I guess one thing to point out, like with this movie being in the series, this is like our feel-good queer movie series. This one, and I think Tangerine too, definitely have some notes of like tension and drama. And I think, like we talked about in previous episodes, that's kind of a universal part of the queer experience, is the pain that kind of comes along with ostracism and just kind of pushing against the mainstream. And though it does, and like we talked about, Marston dies and the two women end up living the rest of their lives together. I think that obviously that's sad. Like the movie has a sad note there. But
would
I also
say
think that's beautiful. That
There's catharsis there, though.
Yeah.
The end has there's your feel good.
So I don't know. Like Zach said, it's sort of not clear whether or not those women were actually romantically involved, or if they were just more like sister wives for him. I like to think that they were, but I don't know. It sounds like the jury is out whether or not that's the reality of the situation. But I like to think that they were. I think that that's a really pretty ending, even though he didn't get to spend the rest of his life with them.
Yeah, I guess it's a lot we can't know, but I think Angela is sort of taking it. I don't think she's wrong in being like sort of charitable towards the situation, because I think there is like, I mean, there's definitely like the way of like assuming that it was like, because yeah, that's like sort of the suspicion we have is like, okay, like how much of this was like the man in this situation, like forcing things or pushing things. But I think I can't not see that. Oh yeah, we are buds. We're on first name basis. Yes, we are.
Angela.
Me and Angie.
Angie.
But I don't see, like, also the stylization of the sex and things like that. I think that I heard in that one review you read, Zach, that they like were criticizing it for not being like sexual enough or something. And just like, I don't know, like.
I'll always take a little bit more in movies, but I do think that it's just so well made.
I didn't see a single vag hole.
It was very representative, like the style, the like over the top, like the way they show a lot of it is like, it felt like it was obviously more from like it's trying to communicate how they feel. Like like it wouldn't actually look like that in like real life. It would probably look a little more silly, because you'd be walking into like
a lot of smush faces.
But like to them, it's like beautiful golden light around like these beautiful people around you, and you're just having the best night of your life, kind of like.
Yeah, like Paige said, it's cathartic. Like they've been wanting this, and they thought that this was going to be an impossible thing. Like definitely as a married couple, and it's like, oh, whoop, it's not impossible. Here we are. We're doing this.
Talking about all these movies, I'm like, where are my himbos? Where are my hot gals?
Oh my god, I love this Marston character too. I think I loved him more the second time around watching it too. Like,
me too.
Get you a man who's like hot and smart and is a feminist and
wants to fill children's minds with feminist propaganda.
Yes,
I love that. It's like basically like he's kind of arguing against the lady who is criticizing him, but also he's just kind of saying like, no, you're right. I'm trying to like put a bunch of like subliminal propaganda out there about like positivity.
She's like, please say psych, and he's like, I'm not gonna. No, that's actually what I'm doing. You're absolutely right.
It's super intense.
He's awesome. Good man. Love that. Love a wholesome feminist man.
Any final thoughts on the movie? I mean, this is kind of a second time through for. I don't know, Seth, if you'd seen this before the episode.
No, okay. I'm a huge comic fan, so I don't know why I hadn't gotten around to it.
And you're tight with Angela, so I mean, I'm surprised you did it. But Paige and Jessy, I mean, what did you? Was there anything that kind of stuck out to you on the second viewing that you didn't catch the first time?
I think that this time I thought like Andrew said, like this is the rare film that I said that I feel like would be perfect if it was 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
Just let that third part roll out at that perfect pace the first 2 parts did,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be perfect.
Yeah, the issue with the movie is that it feels like it's kind of giving you not necessarily the cliff notes, but like an abbreviated version of a much longer thing. You know, a lot of the moments between them, like, and it just could be more like you could kind of develop them a little bit more. It seems like stuff kind of comes very quickly and then kind of goes away because you're running through an hour and a half long running time, and so that's kind of my biggest. It was very apparent, like on the second viewing, that like it could have used like an extra not even that'd be 3 hours, but like it could have used like an extra 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It'd been like 2 hours, a little bit over 2 hours, because it doesn't. It kind of like he's making the comics and stuff, but you also don't really you aren't really engaged with that world to kind of like understand why on a surface level, you understand why he's being attacked by the National League of Decency, but I think it would have been interesting to kind of like explore like the creation of the comic and like how they influenced him more, rather than that being kind of tangential on the side.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely love more. I think it could be a hella miniseries, but I think the thing would still be like that would have to rise to the top would be like these three and their connection being communicated is like has to be the most important thing, and I think that was probably like a big challenge.
And they do a good job of that.
There's so much stuff in this movie; it's crazy. Yeah,
well, they do it, and they do that, but at the same time, it's like they abruptly get fired, and then they move. Everything feels like it's not very. It's kind of a little bit half baked, and you get like really fully developed. Their relationship is pretty developed, but you don't really get the kind of connective tissue pieces of everything else. All of that's kind of half baked, so you feel like you're kind of puddle jumping around. Which isn't an awful thing, but it also just kind of makes the movie a little disjointed. Jessy, was there anything that stuck out to you on this latest viewing?
I don't know. I guess
Luke Evans being hot.
It's true. The results are in. I think I will just reiterate that I was just really struck by I think the authenticity, like the authentic way that they are all shown to navigate through this definitely under the radar lifestyle at the time, and how that's just like confusing and challenging, and just especially being academics and being people who are like really, really thoughtful. I think that they do such a good job of showing how something like this could realistically play out, and then just portraying. I think the acting was really just what was most striking to me. I think it's a really honest and good portrayal of bisexuality, polyamory. I think it's great. I love it.
Yeah, hating kids. It's a good representation of hating kids.
Yeah, pushing them to the background.
This doesn't make me like any more interested in Wonder Woman as a figure, sadly.
Especially like now, you got Wonder Woman, who was a former Israeli soldier and is a Zionist.
I just want to read these comics that he's writing in the movie.
Yeah, I would be interested in like early released comics, but
for propaganda,
for scientific reasons.
Give me the propaganda.
Yeah.
Yeah, not Zionist. The Zionist propaganda that's begun.
Not those. No.
Okay.
The kinky propaganda.
Yes.
We want kinks. We don't want,
Whenever he made it, was it 9 times as kinky? Is that what he did?
Yeah,
that's the issue.
They're like, this looks like you put a little bit more in here, and he's like, yeah, 9 times to be exact.
That was definitely a funny, like very abbreviated scene. Like I feel like he like walks in like, make it 5 times as kinky. You make it. You get some more bondage in there.
It
Such a
needed-
stinker.
It needed like an Aaron Sorkin scene where he was just like, walk with me. And then they like walk in. Just like, we got to get more kink in it. There's not enough kink. We got to get, how about 5 times more kink? And he's like, 5 times? Are you kidding me?
He's got to be okay with them.
Yeah. We need 9 times more kink.
I don't know if he thought he was being subtle, but like people are like it just kept panning over people being like tied up and being like, oh, ow.
Yeah.
Also,
Ow,
what the-
ow, but-
they were doing, they were having the whole like tied up thing in their house, and then that stupid bitch neighbor like walks over, and you're like, fuck you.
Get the
Don't
hell
walk
out of there.
Get the hell out of their house. And she's just
Yeah.
and then she's like, well, my kids don't need to be around you. I'm like, well, you don't need to be in our fucking house. She just fucking walked in.
Tell your kids not to walk in the fucking house.
Not even the kids, her. You don't walk in the house. I got you
Walk into
cookies.
someone's house. Knock on the fucking door. Don't
Yeah.
just walk into someone's house.
Like if I was them, I would just lighten to her and be like, hey, no, like honestly, you're in the wrong here. We could be having like a satanic worship service, and that's something you're doing. Like that's our thing. This is our house.
We
You
weren't
just
on the
walked in.
front lawn, you crazy asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
So that's my takeaway
Anyways.
is fuck that lady.
Yeah. Agree.
Great
Agree.
Yeah.
takeaway. Thank you, Zach. I forgot it better. I'm mad all over again.
Yeah. So fuck that lady. And also Luke Evans totally could have taken her husband. Her husband looked like a thumb penis.
That was a brutal scene. That was
Oh,
wild.
the
Like, geez,
boyfriend character
what?
that gets broken up.
he was just no. He was just the guy who was
the guy on the
sitting there.
yard. No, didn't he get the shit?
You
beat
need
out
to
of
walk
him?
away.
Didn't Marston?
Looks like one of those Spy Kids minions. Fuck him. Take his ass out.
Oh man, that
Yeah.
was very sad.
That guy like said that to Luke Williams and then turned around and it's like, Flip is a madman, help us, save us, like so.
I mean, I feel like this movie, like, just definitely, if like there's any debate, like whether or not like polyamory belongs also in the queer community, I feel like this movie is like a clear answer of like, yes, it does, because polyamorous, like people in polyamorous relationships certainly face like challenges just like people in same-sex relationships, where like these people lost their jobs, they like were ostracized in their community just because they are wanting to love each other in a way that was happy and meaningful to them. And I don't know,
They had to create a worldwide popular comic in order to overcome it.
God,
It still
that's the
didn't
solution. Are you in a poly
what were we
relationship?
thinking?
Just make a best-selling
Just
comic
pick a
series.
best-selling comic
I also
series.
like that it also has a scene where he's just like, I forgot what he calls her, like Suprema the Wonder Woman or whatever, and he's
work.
like, just call her Wonder Woman, and I'm like, that's the trailer right there.
Yep. Suprema.
They definitely stole that line in the Facebook movie, social network,
Just,
where they're like, it's the Facebook, and they're like, just Facebook.
just Facebook.
Whoa.
And
Genius.
you're like, thanks, Justin Timberlake.
Yes.
All right. Well, I believe that'll wrap up this episode of Cinematary. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cinematary, on Twitter and Instagram at handle @Cinematary, and on Letterboxd at letterboxd.com/Cinematary, where we post all the movies that we talked about in this episode. Head over to patreon.com/Cinematary if you'd like to watch this live.
Yeah.
You'd like to be like
Well,
Andrew right now,
like,
watching it
It's too
live.
late to watch it live, but you can watch it later.
Yeah, or if you want to be like, if you want to comment during it and like have us react to the comments, or
Yeah.
make fun of you and berate you,
We love it.
that's what we're gonna do. So
Awesome.
that's up there. But thank you to Cam, Chad Newsom, Christina Daughtry, Corey Willingham, Harry Eskin, Candace Sisson, Ron Hayes, Titus Arthur, Tyler Chandler, and Whitney Rio Ross. Thank you for your patronage. Next week, we will be wrapping up our Feel Good Queer Movie series with 2015's Tangerine. So if you have not listened to if this is the first one you're catching up with, be sure to head back. We had a really good episode last week on The Birdcage,
Mhm.
and a good episode the week before on But I'm a Cheerleader. So go back and listen through. And then, like I said, we'll be announcing our Young Critics Watch Old Movies series listing next week as well. So
Mhm.
fun stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
Stay gay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. Good talk, guys. I don't
Good
feel
talk.
like I accidentally spent 90% of this talking about how sex is cool, so that's awkward. Oops, we're still live.